Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's FileMaker webinar. My name is Mike Crook. I'm the marketing manager here at FileMaker in the UK. I'm very pleased to say that we have with us Oli Sussat, Director of Technology at Metropolis Studios, and Kieran Saunders, our FileMaker Product Specialist. In just a few ticks, Ollie is going to get going with a great presentation about how Metropolis Studios implement custom apps in weeks. Before we do that, I'd just like to say that if you have any questions during the course of the session, feel free to ask them using the questions panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll do our best to address those towards as many of those towards the end of the session as we possibly can. That's all you'll hear from me until that session later on. So without any further ado, I shall hand over to Ollie to get started.
Hello, everybody. Thank you to FileMaker, first of all, for having me here today. I hope that you guys listening will find the next half an hour or so somewhat interesting. I'll do my best. So Metropolis Studios is Europe's largest recording complex. Around 50% of the UK chart is recorded, written, mastered there, or creatively treated in some kind of way. So if you're listening to something on the radio right now and you're in the UK, the chances are it's been creatively treated in some way at Metropolis. Everybody who's anybody in music has recorded there. And this year Metropolis actually turns 25 years old. So it's a really big landmark year for us. And there are only probably 4 or 5 studios left in the world that are the size of Metropolis. So we're really proud of where we are today. Artists like Amy Winehouse and her Back to Black album that was recorded at Metropolis. You know, Led Zeppelin, Queen, Freddie Mercury's piano is even still there in Studio A. So if you are one of the lucky people who gets to record in those rooms, you get to surround yourself with some pretty cool memorabilia too. Metropolis is owned today by a gentleman called Kane Clements, and Kane also owns the Academy of Contemporary Music, which is a music college based in Guildford, Surrey. About 100 young people there studying performance, production, business studies, technical services, which I guess is the new PC term for what you'd call a roadie, a technical services personnel. It's a little microcosm of the music industry. And in this way, between ACM and Metropolis, we have an end-to-end proposition. You can come and you can study the music industry and begin your journey into the music industry at ACM. And then on the flip side, you can actually come back and record at Metropolis as a working professional. And we've actually had some students who are quite well known today, people like Ed Sheeran, who started off at ACM and now find themselves back at Metropolis recording, having their work mastered. And indeed, there's a whole team of Grammy Award-winning engineers that kind of make all of that happen for and with Ed today. But Metropolis hasn't had a smooth ride through all of this. You could say that there have been ups and downs along the way. In fact, you'd be definitely right to say that there were ups and downs along the way. And just 3 years ago, when Kane took over Metropolis and shortly afterwards acquired ACM, both businesses, in fact, were encountering some serious problems. And actually, when we think of Metropolis today and how it functions, we say that we are saving the dinosaur. Like I mentioned earlier, there are only 4 or 5 studios like Metropolis around the world. The others have shut down, mostly due to lack of money, because the truth is the studio model, thanks to this amazing technology that a lot of us have all around us, it isn't easy to run a studio anymore. Lots of people literally are recording very, very high quality things in their bedroom. I mean, there was that famous example in the early 2000s of Daniel Bedingfield. Hey, he produced this studio quality album in his bedroom. The truth is today, lots of people can do it. And so you're probably, as an artist today, not going back to Metropolis just for the studios per se, but it's for the kind of really the old ways of recording, the vintage equipment that we have there, the stuff that you can't do with your home studio setup, if you like. But we've also had to diversify the business in lots of other ways, and I'll talk to you about that in just a while. But bringing it back to the main problem, there was Metropolis, and in some ways ACM too. Metropolis, big old expensive facilities. Lots of people needed to make those facilities work. The award-winning engineers, the tech team, the facilities team, all of your booking staff, the marketing staff, the finance team, the HR teams, they're all needed to make that facility work. And a lot of those people were spending a lot of time putting data into the system. And that data was plentiful. It was everywhere. It was in the studios themselves. It was on bits of paper that were floating around the studios with clients and with our booking staff. It was on our invoices. But we didn't really understand it. And Kane, who was the incoming owner of the business, didn't understand it either. And that was shocking because actually his background was all about data. But the truth was we weren't set up for data, and that actually put us on a big back foot. As a business, we should have been making all of our decisions based on that data. We should have been using data as decision support. We should have been using the data to ensure that the process of booking a studio at Metropolis and actually, that booking going well, that should have been a great experience for our customer, but it often wasn't the case because the data wasn't available always in the right way to the right people. And Metropolis had done its best, and the previous owners of Metropolis had done their best to ensure that data was something that was well looked after by the company. But the truth was that the systems that we were using at the time were very, very ill-fitting for our needs. They were enterprise class solutions. They were big, expensive systems that, when they were sold into the people who were managing Metropolis at the time, came with all of these amazing bells and whistles. But the truth was these systems were ill-fitting because Metropolis, it isn't this huge organization. It isn't a multinational organization with lots of sites and thousands upon thousands of staff around the world. It's a medium-sized enterprise with, probably a couple of hundred connected employees. And although we deal with lots and lots of creatives, the number of people providing input into the system is finite in that way. We didn't need something that really, we didn't need what we were pitched, basically. The thing is, there are lots of companies out there who are quite happy to pitch organizations solutions that are ill-fitting because that's how they make their money. And certainly, I think that's the position we find ourselves in. We found ourselves surrounded by the likes of SAP and all of their integrators who are telling us, this is just right for you. This is just right for you. It's everything that you need. It does everything that you need. And to a point, maybe they were right. But the truth was, it didn't do what we needed it to do in the way we needed it to do it. And we found that we were working within an organization where actually most of our cost was about getting data into a system, and we were getting next to nothing out. Without kind of talking too much about the specifics, thanks to FileMaker, I should say, we have halved the number of people whose jobs are just solely related to data input. Now, that doesn't have to be, a bad news story about people losing their jobs. Actually, it's the opposite. Those people should never have been spending most of their time putting data into a system anyway. They should have been spending time with our clients. And now that is the case. Because of the fact we've reduced the time that it takes to get data into the system and hopefully get something useful out of it. It wasn't even a case of garbage in, garbage out. It was data in and nothing out at all. Our customers are better looked after. We needed to go on a journey though, and it wasn't the easiest journey. And often when we're talking to people who are asking us about, how did you get from a place where you were relying on enterprise class systems to a place where FileMaker basically runs the show. And this is the case. FileMaker at the minute at Metropolis and ACM touches every single part of the organization, from very first contact with the customer through the processes in between, right through to payment and payment processing and management information and all of the rest of it. And I was in a position where I, as a systems developer, I guess, was making a proposal to our executive boards at both companies at different times, but at both companies, telling them that actually this big, expensive enterprise class solution was killing their organization, and instead they needed something that we would build ourselves on this tech platform called FileMaker. And I've got to be honest, at first there was a lot of reluctance, because people are saying, no, these systems, SAP, that's a really respected name in its field. Absolutely, and I would agree, absolutely it is. It just wasn't right for us. Very, very quickly, using FileMaker, we were able to build little modules at first, just as a kind of proof of concept to show our board exactly what the platform can do. But the hardest part, because I should say up front, the easy part about our whole implementation process of our new systems was the FileMaker part. The software part is easy, and I would say to anybody, if you can use a computer, you can understand FileMaker, you can work out how to use FileMaker. There are lots of really, really good resources online. And a user can be a developer in that regard, and I think that's a really powerful thing about the platform. But there is a part that is slightly more complex, and it's this. You have to know the business. And supported by our exec board, who had a lot of experience in this, we were able to separate our business problems out into 3 areas: people, processes, and systems. And doing that really allowed us to get to the nub of our business problems. What did we need to know about our business? How did we need to operate? What systems did we need to make sure that the flow of information, or data and then information across the business, was really important? Some of this was about education. Some of it was about teaching people the difference between data, information, and knowledge. So, for instance, a common question from the exec board at Metropolis was, well, how busy are our studios? What's our occupancy rate like? If we, who understand data, and lots of us on this call will, be comfortable with the progression of data into information, we'd know, well, if you want to create that information statement, the studios are X% full, you need to collect some molecular data in order to qualify that statement. You would need to know what your operating hours were, and then from those operating hours, how many studios you were operating in those times. And then you'd arrive at a total amount of hours that the studios were available. Then you compare that to the total number of hours booked. There you've got your occupancy. But not everyone in the organization really thought like that, and not everyone was able to think like that. So there was an education part involved to the people, processes, systems side of things. And really, in that process, what we were doing is questioning, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And a lot of the time, the answers were such that we were doing things in a certain way because that's the way that enterprise class solution, it was SAP, I can't even remember the name of it now, Business One, Enterprise One, something like that. It doesn't matter. But the thing was that we were actually working our whole organization around SAP. That was crazy. Before SAP, we didn't need 4 people in the finance department just to double key information that was provided from the bookers into a finance system. They could do it all themselves. They were using, paper and pen. And in some ways, paper and pen was a little more useful than SAP in that regard. We got the job done more quickly. But there were efficiencies to make, and technology definitely could help us, and this is why we persevered. So when we realized actually the whole organization was set up to fulfill the workflow of this off-the-shelf system from SAP, we realized that we needed to do something about it. It just wasn't working for us anymore. And I think the other thing to say about these off-the-shelf solutions is sometimes you are at the mercy of the integrator. Companies like SAP will appoint an integrator, and really it is their job to turn that vanilla off-the-shelf package into something that is bespoke and appropriate for your organization. But they work on an agency model, so it's not in their interest to do that. They will oversell and under-deliver. And that's generally how I would see it. Apologies to anyone who thinks differently. I should say these are just my own views and not the views of anybody else at this point. So faced with this dilemma and knowing a little bit about FileMaker, because I've got to say I wasn't a FileMaker expert, still don't profess to be one of those, still very much learning. But I wasn't a FileMaker expert at the time. I actually hadn't seen much of FileMaker since FileMaker version 7. And what I should say to anyone who's brand new to FileMaker right now is don't expect this thing to stop developing and innovating. Every time a new version comes out, there is something to which, well, to me, to my geeky mind, is just mind-blowing. I love the new features. Every time there's something new, something different, something that makes your job as a developer easier, better. FileMaker 14 in particular, there was a lot of that with the new developer tools where you can now, if you're a little more advanced, type and get auto suggestions for the code, if you like, the functions that you're looking for, rather than going back to point and click all of the time. That's really useful. Loads of cool stuff which we can talk about later, and which Kieran's going to talk about later, I think, as well. But I hadn't known much about FileMaker, so I had to go on that journey with FileMaker to learn a little more about it. And I've got to say the guys were amazing. And I downloaded a trial online. If you haven't downloaded one already, make sure that you do. What is it, 30 days, guys? 30 days, plenty of time to sample the delights of this marvelous development platform. And you will see how quickly you can change something on your screen that looks just an idea at first. You've got an idea of something, whether it's data structure or it's a layout or it's a scripting idea. How quickly you can translate that into something real, that's exciting. And not only does it work then on your desktop, but thanks to FileMaker Go and WebDirect and these other technologies, you can actually translate your idea, your solution, your custom app, if you like, onto other platforms really quickly. So you can take things mobile, take things web, and you can amaze all of your colleagues and friends and all of the people around you with this cool stuff. So once we got the hard part out of the way, which was knowing our business, questioning, what is our business? What do we do? What do we need to do? What are the ways in which we'd like to work and should work? Once we've done the people, processes, systems part of things, the software part of it was easy. So we basically did an audit of our business. We went around every department and spoke to people and found out what their job really was. How do they currently work? How would they like to work? And we literally started with the process of translating all of their desires and wishes into something in FileMaker. And you can watch a little video online about that if you haven't already, how we integrated FileMaker and built custom apps in just a matter of weeks at Metropolis. And I mean, this is the headline point for us. We were able to replace an enterprise class solution from the likes of SAP in a matter of weeks. And switchover day, I'm not going to fib, it was a scary day. There were an awful lot of anxious looking people in the room next door that I was trying to avoid the glares of. They were waiting for something to go wrong, but it didn't. And FileMaker came through, and actually, they all look back and laugh about that day, because it was also the day that we started to save a lot of money, and it was part of the journey that Metropolis made, from actually being a place that wasn't making money. I said we were saving the dinosaur. Metropolis was going to go into administration if Kane and Ian, the CEO, hadn't have done something. They needed to take drastic action. It was losing more than £1 million a year. They couldn't carry on like that. And Metropolis now is actually in profit. And part of that is thanks to FileMaker and what it's been able to do for us. So, you know, business efficiency, business transformation is very much what it's all about. So watch that video online if you'd like to find out a little bit more. We also have a video about ACM, by the way, so the music college too, if that interests you. Our custom solution at Metropolis is called Metrobase. And Metrobase is our sales platform. It deals with all of our CRM, our customer relationship management. It does our sales invoicing, our payments, our purchase ordering system. Kieran's helpfully pointing out that my screenshot there is just a version 1.1.
I'm just laughing that they didn't need to go above 1.1. That was it. They were done.
I promise I have been working hard ever since then. This is from an earlier presentation that we did actually at the Apple Store a while back. So naughty me for not updating that. I'm terribly sorry. But Metrobase, like FileMaker, is always developing and growing with the organization. And that's a really cool thing as well. You don't just develop these solutions and pop them out and then have to, in the traditional sense, work on releases, timed releases. If you want to be brave about things and you're confident in your development abilities, and I'm not saying this is best practice, but it's certainly exciting. At Metropolis and ACM, me and some of our other developers have been known to, develop on a live system in operating hours. And when you hit that modify button or edit layout button, it's kind of exciting. As developers, you get a rush from that kind of thing. I'm sure you guys know what I mean. So, this system is doing CRMs, doing sales invoicing, payments, purchase ordering. And the cool part is it was all built in-house by us. It's based on the FileMaker platform. It's bespoke for our studio environment and the way that we work at Metropolis. It offers all the studio automation that we need in terms of our workflow. You can't buy anything like it. You can't get something like this off the shelf. And we think it's perfect. But we're not naive enough to think that it's perfect for everybody. It's perfect just for us. And that's the journey that you go on with FileMaker. You build a custom solution that can be perfect and perfect just for you. And that doesn't come at a huge cost. It's a really modest investment in both money and time that you need to do this. So remember, we replaced that enterprise class solution with something that was far more feature rich, far more fitting for the organization, and it didn't need the investment, anywhere near the investment that some of our other systems needed. One of those things that we were using, by the way, for CRM was Salesforce, and Salesforce Unlimited is about £2,000 per user per year. And if you're a small enterprise, that can be a big cost. We have integrated all of that functionality that we needed from CRM into our FileMaker solution, into Metrobase, and that's there now. We pay fractions and fractions of pennies for every email that we send through an integration with MailChimp or Mandrill app. We pay fractions of pennies for every SMS we send through Clickatel, which is an SMS gateway. Other good providers are available. I think, we've got an integration with Docusign, which I'll talk about in a bit as well, which is really cool for electronic contracting. And we're saving money versus the systems we were using before. So £2,040 per user per year is what we were paying for Salesforce. Now with FileMaker, our licensing costs are minimal. And again, you should chat to the FileMaker sales team because they're really, really helpful. And I'll talk to you about all of the options that are available if you're interested in licensing this thing for yourselves. I spoke about Docusign. This is really cool for us. We had a problem whereby, these amazing artists were booking our studios and then having a creative difference on the day, a change of mind, and sometimes they wouldn't pay. Well, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes they wouldn't turn up. Sometimes they wouldn't pay either. And actually, they thought that they didn't need to pay because they didn't turn up. And we didn't always have the paper trail that we needed in order to, well, not hold them, but their record labels to account and say, look, you need to pay for this space. So we worked on an integration with Docusign using FileMaker. So it was really cool. We had some help from the FileMaker tech team, we had some help from the Docusign tech team, we had a lot of help from the FileMaker developer community as well. And I should say, you guys, if there are FileMaker developers part of that community out there, thank you for all of the help that you've given us. It's really useful. If you haven't joined that community yet, make sure that you do. It's really good fun, very informative. So our Docusign integration allows people at Metropolis to send electronic contracts out using FileMaker. Before, we actually then needed the client to print out the contract, sign the contract, fax it back to us. I mean, who has a fax anymore? With Docusign, they can do it all on the device. If they've got a mobile device, touchscreen device, they can actually sign on screen and hit the return button. And actually then that contract comes back into Metrobase, into our FileMaker solution as a PDF. So it's there in the container field for all of our staff to refer to if ever we need to. Now, we also have integrations for invoicing, so with payment processors, and SAP, which was really used for our finance function. When we turned that off, we were able to save more money. So we were paying about £40,000 a year in licensing costs for SAP. Am I allowed to say how much we pay for licensing? Yeah, I mean, it's, we've been now licensed up at Metropolis. With FileMaker, we pay about £4,000 a year in comparison. So, that's 10 times less. You can't argue with that. But the main thing is integration and install. Our first year of investment with SAP was about 80,000 because we needed to pay for all the apparently custom work that the integrator did as well. In reality, I don't think did much for us. So the payment processing, that's really cool. We integrate with our merchant bank account via a payment processor. We use WorldPay, but again, lots of payment processors out there, and you can pretty much integrate with any of them using the features that are available to you with FileMaker. And actually, there is the FileMaker API as well, the PHP API. So if there isn't a function easily available within the main development interface, you can code using PHP, and again, the developer network is really, really good for getting advice on this. So we are now payment processing through FileMaker. We enter the card details, we get the result back. Happy days, our finance team is really excited about that. We get all of our sales information there on the screen about the performance of our company, which is really, really good for management information. Before, we were having to create manual reports in Excel every single month. That was time consuming. It also led to mistakes. Either way, you'd had a bad month and you needed to make sure that your figures met expectation, or sometimes genuine mistakes where maybe we'd forget to bill a client. Happy days for them, sad days for us. So FileMaker is definitely helping out with all of that too. We've built lots of add-on web services that integrate with our FileMaker systems. So our iMixing and iMastering services open Metropolis, based in London, up to the rest of the world. So if you're in another territory, you can actually book our services online. The web service is using WordPress, and actually we've built an integration from WordPress to our FileMaker system. Again, really, really nice and easy. So if you'd like to do something similar, happy to help anyone who's interested in that out for some more information. I think the thing that I'd like to say is that we feel we're left with something that is just, it far exceeds the expectations that we could ever have had from something that was off the shelf. You do need a commitment towards development of some kind in-house. But if you are, a one-man show, that can happen really easily with FileMaker Starter Solutions. I'd recommend starting in that place. If you're a slightly larger organization, I mean, actually with ACM, when we did a similar thing for ACM, it was just me. And actually our development team grew out of the fact that our executive board got excited about how quickly you could do things with FileMaker. They would have an idea, and then you could, in the next few days, really, you'd see it implemented in FileMaker. That led them to think, oh, well, what could we do if we had more people, more developers? And so we invested in that area. So whilst we do have that resource today, it isn't necessary to get started. If you're a business owner, or if you're someone who works inside a business with enough understanding about how that business works, you can create a FileMaker solution that is very well fitting and will undoubtedly help you build a bigger, happier, hopefully more profitable business. So all of the best, and good luck to you.
Right, this is Kieran. Thank you very much, Oli, for that. We've got a little slide here for the ability for you to download the free guide that Oli was talking about, based on that journey that Oli was just talking about implementing the custom apps in weeks. So please, you've got that link in the GoToMeeting panel, and yeah, have a look at that.